Hello everyone, welcome to Maths class. So let us start with a new chapter called sets. Set theory. We'll start with a basic definition of what is a set. This will help us for further discussion. The definition says a set is a well-defined collection of objects. Let us start with collection now. If I say, for example, I'm talking about a group of animals such as cat, dog, cow, horse, buffalo, etc. What shall we call this group as? This will be called as a collection of domestic animals. Similarly, if I talk about violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, what shall we collectively call them as? These are collection of those colors which are there in the rainbow. If I talk about saffron, white, green and blue, these are the colors found in the tricolor of the Indian national flag. So these are well defined collections what I am talking about. Even if you go from person to person, you will find the same answer. Suppose if I talk about one of the finest writers in the world, then we may not expect everybody to say the same answer because each person will have a subjective opinion. One person may give us the answer of a different writer, another one will name us different one. Some may say Shaw was a good writer, another person may come up and say that Emily Bront was a good one. So each one will give us a different answer. In that case, the collection is not called as well defined. If you ask about three tall people in your building, see, that will be different for different people. If your building is big enough and there are so many people there, then a person who is 6 feet tall may consider those people taller than him or her to be tall. Whereas a person who is 5 feet tall may find even that 6 feet person as a tall person. So again, this is subjective. Each person may give us different answers. Whereas if I ask you, who are the tallest three people in your class? Then by measurement, automatically everyone will have to give the same answer. Then in this case, this will be a well-defined collection of objects. So let us see some few more examples to understand this. So on the left side of your screen, you will find some collections which are sets because they are well-defined. Means no matter who gives these examples, the answers are going to be same. Example, as I told you before, colors of the rainbow. All will have to give the same answer. That is the Vibgyor. That means it is well defined. Whereas, if I ask about another collection on your right side, these collections are not sets. Reason, let us discuss. First, the best color in the world. When I say the best color, each person will have their own choice. One says yellow, somebody else says red. One more person, if you ask, say blue. So the answer may not be the same all the time. That means it's not a set. How about contents of a tea? So generally, when you ask this question, people may say tea contains tea powder, milk, water and sugar. But if you talk about which is the best type of tea in the world, in that case, one may come up with K-tea, another one may say that's Assam tea. Some may say that's lemon tea or some green tea or other types. So again, the answer keeps on changing. That means it is not well defined. If I ask you top scorers of the class, when I am talking about a particular class or maybe your classroom I am talking about, then by descending order of their marks, you can choose the top 5 scorers in the class. Almost everybody may come up with the same names. But if I talk about the best scientist in the world or the toppest scientist in the world, in that case, some may say it's Einstein, somebody else may say it's Isaac Newton, one may say Madame Curie, but the answers may vary. If it varies, then that means it's not a well-defined collection of objects. One more example, if I'm talking about the letters in the alphabet in language that is English, in that case, all of them will be the same, that is A to Z. That means this is a set because it is well defined. Whereas if I say Please give me examples of difficult letters in alphabet. In that case, each one may come up with a different. Some may say it's G, some may say it's X, some may say it's Q. Maybe because it might be difficult to pronounce or write, or maybe to find words starting with these letters. For different reasons, people may give me different answers. That means this is not a well-defined collection. So hence they are not sets. Planets in the solar system. Let us see whether that is a set. See, most of us who know about the solar system will have to give us the same planets, what you see on the screen here, right? That means it is well defined. If the answer is consistent and everybody gives the same answer, that means it is a set. Whereas, if I ask, give me examples of planets that we like other than the Earth, each person may come up with a different answer. Some may say, Jupiter is one of the best planets and I love them. And some may say, no, Venus is good, I like that one. Or Saturn because of its rings. Each one may give us different answers. Some may say, I don't like any other planet other than the Earth. Hence, it is not a well-defined set. So, whichever set is well-defined, all the times, the answers will be same. If we say about a collection of different type of objects with every person at that time, we can say that is not a set. From person to person, if the answer remains same, or that is called as well defined. From person to person, if the answer subjectively changes, that means that is not a set. Now let us see few more examples of sets which are particularly used in maths. These are some things that we have already heard about or read about or studied about in lower classes. N, capital N is used to denote the set of all natural numbers. Remember natural numbers? Yes, all the positive numbers or counting numbers which are like 1, 2, 3, so on, and that does not have any end. The infinity or positive infinity is considered to be the end of natural numbers. Another set which is very famous is the set of whole numbers, which is nothing but natural numbers when added with 0, it becomes whole numbers. Z, set of all integers. This is bigger than whole numbers and natural numbers. If we consider the negatives of all the natural numbers clubbed with whole numbers, we get integers. See, whole numbers means all natural numbers with 0. Now, integers means natural numbers, 0 and the negatives of all the numbers. The set of rational numbers is denoted by Q. What is that? All these integers plus decimals and fractions. All those numbers which can be written in the form of P by Q. I think you may remember this, where P and Q are integers and Q not being equal to 0 and the highest common factor of P and Q being 1. That is a condition for rational numbers. See, when we say a number 1 by 2, that is a fraction. Hence, it is a rational number. 2.25, for example, is a decimal which can also be written as a fraction. Hence, it is also a rational number. Then comes Q dash or IR, which is a notation for irrational numbers. Irrational numbers are those numbers which are roots of non-perfect squares or those decimals which are neither terminating nor recurring, but they keep on changing and continuing. Some of the examples are written here, like root 2, root minus 3, 1 plus root 5 upon 7, 2 minus root 7 upon 5. These are some examples of irrational numbers. So, rational numbers, irrational numbers together are called as real numbers. So, you can see this big rectangle here called real numbers, which consists of all the rational numbers and irrational numbers. Please concentrate that rational numbers consists of integers, which in turn consists of whole numbers, which contains natural numbers. But irrational numbers is a totally different set. So these are some of the sets we will be in your future classes. Let's talk about the next point, that is the properties regarding sets. See, in sets, the objects contained in the set are called as either objects, elements, and members of the set. They are all meaning the same. Then sets are normally denoted using the capital letters of the English alphabet, like capital A, capital B, capital C, any of the letters we can use. But the elements generally are represented with the smaller letters, like lowercase a, b, c, etc. Continuing the discussion, now let us talk about the elements of a set and how they are represented. If small a or lowercase a is an element of a set, capital A, then we say that small a or the lowercase a belongs to capital A. We read it as small a or a belongs to A, that is a capital A. The first small a is the element and the capital A is the set. The Greek symbol of epsilon, which looks like an E, is used to denote the phrase belongs to. Epsilon means belongs to. Wherever we see this symbol, we will read it as belongs to. Thus, we write small a epsilon capital A, which will be read as A belongs to A. The first A being the element and the second A being the set. So, if we consider another element B, which is not present in A, then we will write it as B striked out epsilon and A. The striked out epsilon stands for does not belong to. So we can read it as B does not belong to A. I repeat, see, B striked out epsilon A can be read as B does not belong to A, where small b is the element and capital A is the set. Let us take one more example to understand this concept. If capital A is a set which contains elements 1, 2, 3 and capital B is a set which contains x, y, z, in that case, using the symbols epsilon, which means belongs to, and striked out epsilon, which means does not belong to, let us complete few mathematical statements. Here we will be having 4 columns. First one for the element, second one for the symbol, either epsilon or striked out epsilon. Third one for the name of the set there. And fourth one, how to read it as. So first one, 1 belongs to A, where 1, epsilon and A. Please concentrate on the symbols. Element is 1, symbol is epsilon and set is A. Means we can read it as 1 belongs to A. Next, 2, which is also an element of A. So we can say 2 epsilon A, which is read as 2 belongs to A. 3, which is also present in the set A. We can write it as 3 epsilon A or 3 belongs to A. Since 1, 2, 3, all these elements are from A, we can write each one of them belongs to A. However, if I talk about X, we know that XYZ belongs to set B and not to A. So we can write X striked out epsilon A, which means X does not belong to A. Whereas Y also is not from A. So we say that Y striked out epsilon A, which is read as Y does not belong to A. Z again striked out epsilon A means Z also does not belong to A, because X, Y, Z, none of them are from A. They all belong to B. Let us have a look at the contrary idea. That's the opposite. That is, if I consider the elements from B, X epsilon B means X belongs to B. Very obvious, because X, Y, Z, all three of them are from B. Similarly, Y epsilon B means Y belongs to B. Z epsilon B means Z belongs to B. We read it as Z belongs to B. However, 1, which is an element from A, does not belong to B. So we write 1 striked out epsilon, which means does not belong to B, and read as 1 does not belong to B. 2 also does not belong to B. We read the same. Now, last but not the least, 3, which is also from A, is striked out epsilon, means 3 does not belong to B. I hope the idea is clear. Let us continue with the discussion of representing the